So welcome to the new segment, and this is on lying. I'm just going to expand upon what I talked about in our first video about how we always lie. So we always lie. I mean, not always. Okay. So I take that back. We don't always lie. We lie often. We lie to one another. It's sort of expected. Our society does that. I want to go into the reasons for lying, but also want to clarify a point because I talked about parents not lying to their kids and stuff like that. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine about that not that long ago, and he was saying that, what, you're going to take away the kid's childhood because he's, if you're going to bring him into your problems. It's not about that. Parents, it's about just letting your kids know that, yes, there is something that is bothering you, that it is not for kids. It's not, it's not something that you can do anything about, but you can give me a hug and that would help me greatly. Thank you very much. And on your merry way. Because when we're talking about letting kids understand that their intuition and their own personal radar is working, helps build that self-confidence because they can see the world around them a little bit better. That's not saying that as they're growing that you're teaching them that, it's not everybody is like that, not everybody tells you what's real, but trust yourself in an understanding and compensate accordingly. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I want to sort of get into the why we lie again, and I'm going to reiterate this a little bit and say we lie because we don't like other people's reactions. Did we get his tail in that?
Shadow.
Okay. The shadow of his tail. Oh, that was my cat walking by. So, the reason that we lie is that we're worried about other people's reactions. And the truth is, we're not going to stop other people being angry. We're not going to stop other people wanting to not look at themselves or take personal responsibility for their lives, or all of the things that we wish that they would do. The truth is, it's not going to happen. So lying as part of this culture is absolutely, I think, necessary at this point. I don't think that it's something that I condone a lot, but there are always reasons that we lie and stuff like that. But let's look at why that happens and why those people being angry and things like that perpetuate us wanting to lie. People react badly to what we consider the truth, generally. When we're growing up, when we tell somebody, I did the whole analogy of the kid hitting the window with the rock, so he lies, it didn't happen or he didn't do it, and taking offense at that. Well, people are very angry and they take everything personally. They take everything as if it is something against them. And the lying helps us stop that. It helps people stop. I mean, I guess it's kind of like beating on us. Because literally, when a person is angry with you or at you about a thing that you've told the truth about, which reinforces the fact that you don't want to tell the truth, right? It comes from a place of insecurity on the person's part that is the one being told the truth. I mean, if the truth had no consequences okay, so let's look at what I call a consequence. A consequence, if the truth didn't have a negative consequence, or if the truth didn't provoke anger or resentment or defensiveness or anything like that, because what happens is, people, when told the truth about themselves, are generally being judged. When I'm telling, I've heard people talk about the harsh truth, right? Harsh truth. I'm going to tell them the harsh truth. There's something along that lines that says that one person is right and then another person is wrong. There is one thing that we don't really understand about telling the truth. There is one thing about being told the truth from a perspective of it doesn't matter that these things are happening, right? It's sort of like my wife who gets upset at something and she comes to me and she tells me she's upset, and she's got tears running down her face, and obviously upset about the fact that she's feeling a certain way and she doesn't want to feel a certain way. Now she comes to me and she tells me, Drew, this is when you do this, it makes me feel this way. It's and it's really upsetting and stuff like that. Now, instead of hearing it from the perspective of you're doing wrong, Drew, and taking it personally, getting angry that somebody's told me that I'm doing wrong, and so instead of getting angry and saying that, what you are feeling is wrong, what's happening is she's telling me the truth of what is going on right now for her. She is telling me the truth of what is going on for her right now. And if I were to take that personally and say, oh, well, you're just telling me that I'm doing wrong, right? That what I'm doing is making you feel something, and that's not what I'm doing, okay? The truth is she's feeling that way. And what my response would be, literally for me, is, this person's telling me the truth about where she stands. There is nothing wrong with where she's coming from. Absolutely. It's not against me. She's not doing it to harm me. She's not running out of her way, to be vindictive. This has nothing to do with that. It is literally what she is feeling right now. So what can I do? And I say, okay, so what do you see as I can do in this situation? What can I do to help you? What can I do to be able to not only keep my own train of thought at this moment, to keep my own head from falling off while I'm doing this film, to keep my own, but to just keep my own integrity about it and understand that it is not directed at me. It is just something that's happening right at this moment. And instead of reacting in anger and not understanding or taking it personally, to take it as this is a woman that I love that is having an issue, and it is something that she's upset about, obviously. She doesn't want to feel, and does anyway, for whatever reason. Could be physical, could be anything, right? But, how can I take this situation and resolve it? And stop placing my own condemnation on what it is this person is feeling. So, in perpetuating the truth, it really starts with you, because you have to take the situation and understand that it is not about you at all, but about what the other person is doing and feeling. Now, people project things on other people, definitely. It's your fault that this is happening and stuff like that, and we perpetuate the wanting to lie as well. It's like, no, it's not my fault. And when we're talking about personal responsibility, we understand that if you are being personally responsible, then one, there's not really the necessity to lie unless it has to do with having to lie to spare somebody's feelings or to not deal with a certain subject that is not going to go anywhere. All of that stuff. And on the expectation level of people not lying, definitely not. It's just not going to happen. They're going to lie. But to be able to take on somebody's truth and understand that it's their truth without condemning them for feeling or doing or being that way, then that in and of itself is a lesson that we can all start doing. Because I tell you something, if you were received, if you've got a partner, a husband or wife that you can tell things to, right? The time that we go, oh, I can tell her anything, and she's on board with me. And it's not necessarily that they agree with you, but they accept that it's you. And they don't take it personally. It's not something that's against them. And I'll give you an example. I was sexually abused when I was 3 years old. And, having that happen, I have certain actions and reactions that happen that on a level I don't have any control over at this moment. It comes up, fear or defensiveness or needing to stop doing things and at certain times. So if I had a partner in my life that was unable to deal with that and took it personally, right, the relationship wouldn't work per se. I mean, or at least in that area, it wouldn't work. And so the trust level goes down and all of that stuff. Now, on the other hand, if I have a partner, which of course I do, that can see that and understand that it has nothing to do with her, or she doesn't take it personally. She sees the truth behind it. The truth is, this is what is happening in this moment. How can I help? Right? As opposed to, this is the truth that's happening in this moment. Why are you doing this to me? The differentiation in being able to accept truth. So, I mean, what I'm really talking about is when we are lying because people are not willing to accept truth and not take offense. And when we work on ourselves, and not only that, with our children, to be able to say, to be able to accept the truth and not take offense. Because when we take offense, other people feel smaller. And I don't care who you are, and especially as a kid, because I remember this growing up. Every time I admitted something or every time I really wanted to tell the truth, I got in trouble, right? And I got in trouble because I was doing something bad or wrong. But, it had nothing to do with that. If a person, instead of going towards the anger and taking it personally, said, thank you for telling the truth. You understand that we created a rule that has a consequence to something, and this is going to be the consequences to that. It is not because you're telling the truth. But there is no anger behind it, so there's no condemnation of the people that are actually telling the truth. Because the truth, as they say, will set you free, blah, 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 the truth is not encouraged because we are condemned when we tell it. I mean, it's sort of like, I remember the cop pulls you over on the side of the road. I love this story, because the cop pulls you over on the side of the road. They come up to your window and you roll it down and they said, do you realize how fast you were going? The first response that comes to my mind is, yes, officer, I do. Right? Well, now he's going to get pissed off. Now he's going to think you're cocky. Right? As opposed to being honestly telling the truth. Yes, I understand. And no problem, I understand that I'm going to get a ticket. But they're more likely not to give you a ticket if you go, oh no, I'm sorry, officer, I really didn't understand how fast I was going. Blink, 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 and do the whole, innocent routine. And a lot of the times you're going to get off. Whereas if I said, yes, I do, there's no reward for that. And so, even in the cop's mind, it's like, well, this guy's being a dink. It's like, or can we put that on YouTube? Is dink okay? Anyway, this guy's being a jerk or whatever. I keep going like this is cool. Anyway, with that, I mean, we actually get more in the society when we lie.